Welcome to this free immigration help channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about the brand new visa bulletin that just recently came out for April 2024. So in this video, we're going to be comparing the March 2024 visa bulletin and April 2024, comparing the movement for each family preference category. I will briefly describe how to read the visa bulletin if you are not familiar, just in case for viewers who are not familiar how to read the visa bulletin. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna open March 2024 and I'm gonna open April 2024, and I personally haven't seen April 2024 myself just yet, so it's gonna be definitely news for me as well. So briefly on the visa bulletin itself, for family preference category, if you're dealing with the family reunification process, if you have petitioned for your relative, you know, your typical I-130, and you're in one of the family preference categories, not immediate relative, because immediate relative you're not waiting you're not dealing with the visa bulletin, which is nice. But if you are in one of the 4 family preference categories, which are outlined in each visa bulletin under family sponsored preferences right here. So in case if you are wondering which one stands for what, you can find it here. You will find in each visa bulletin 2 graphs, graph A, final action dates, and graph B, dates for filing. That really depends on what kind of information you're trying to extract from the visa bulletin. If you want to see the full length of how long approximately the process will take, really how long the backlog, how much of the backlog accumulated on, you know, each particular family preference category, you're looking at the graph A. But if you have been approved by USCIS, if your I-130 was approved by USCIS and your case already have been transferred to the NVC, but your NVC portal is not open yet, and you want to find out when your NVC portal is going to be open so that you can start your documentary qualification process, in that case, you're looking at the graph B. That is why on the graph B, the dates appear a little bit sooner than the graph A, because graph B, it's up to when the NVC portal opens up, and then the graph A is the full length of the backlog. Keep in mind, in this video, as in every video I make on this channel, especially on the visa bulletin and the backlog, it's a very rough estimate, because sometimes the dates move, sometimes they don't move at all, sometimes they move backwards because there's more applications, there's more backlog. Keep that in mind. So I'm gonna set April here on the graph A. We're gonna start with the graph A, and I'm gonna set the March on the same, so it's easier to see the comparison. So when you're looking at the graphs, you will see obviously in the rows, you will see each family preference category, F1, F2A, F2B, F3, F4. And then in the columns, you will see there are a few of them, all chargeability areas. And then for 4 different countries, China, India, Mexico, Philippines, these 4 countries, they have separate chargeability areas. So if you're not from China, India, Mexico, or Philippines, you're looking at the all chargeability area. So let's start with the F1, which is sons and daughters of US citizens who are over 21. Sons and daughters over 21. Okay, so this is March 2024. This is, I'm gonna highlight this row right here. So we got, for all chargeability, we got February 8, 2015. So no movement looks like for all chargeability. Let's see China, no movement for China, no movement for India, for Mexico, and for Philippines. So unfortunately, no movement for F1 category. All right, let's move to the F2A now. That is children and spouses of permanent residents. And I'm gonna highlight this here as well. Looks like there is some kind of movement. Hopefully good positive movement. Let's find out. So we got F2A in March 2024. It was on June 2020. So if you're not familiar with the priority dates, I'm sorry, it's kind of like a little bit, you know, but I'll clarify just in case. So that's people who have filed their I-130 petitions back in June 2020. Their applications are just now, their immigrant visas are just now becoming available. Okay, so In March 2024, for all chargeability area, F2A was on 22nd June 2020. All right, April 2024, we got September 2020. So that means that there was June, July, well, it's end of June. So July, August, and then September 8th. So that is a little bit over 2 months movement forward, which is great. Definitely good, because in 1 month from March to April, there is over 2 month movement forward, which means that we are finally catching up in that particular category. So that's definitely good news for all chargeability areas. Let's see for China, same thing for China, same thing for India. Mexico, it looks like it moved from June to August. So not as much as all chargeability China and India, but still a positive movement, definitely good. And then the Philippines also moved to September 2020. So if we're moving forward, that's great news. If we're not moving at all, that's not so good. And obviously there is also retrogression when it moves backwards, and that's not good because it shows that the backlog continues to accumulate. So definitely good news for the F2A. Let's move on to the F2B. I'm gonna highlight this one here. This is March 2024, and I'm gonna highlight April 2024. So let's see what's going on with F2B. So it looks like we are on 22nd November 2015. 22nd November 2015. No movement for all chargeability. No movement for China. No movement, unfortunately, for India. No movement for Mexico. And no movement for Philippines. So no movement whatsoever. And I'm gonna save you time because it looks like the rest, that is F3 and F4 categories, looks like there is no movement whatsoever at all between, unfortunately, between the March and April. So it looks like only good news for this visa bulletin edition, specifically for the availability of the immigrant visa, is only for the F2A category. Okay, unfortunately not good news. If you've been subscribed to this channel, you know I'm personally looking at the F4, and F4, yeah, it's been quite slow movement. But let's move to the graph B now, dates for filing, which shows the opening of the NVC portal. I'm gonna scroll down right here in the March, and same thing I'm gonna do for April. Let's see if there is something here. Okay, so F1, I'm gonna highlight this, and I'm gonna highlight this as well. Let's see if there is any difference. Looks like no movement whatsoever for F1 category whenever it comes to the NVC portal opening up. Looks like the same thing. F2A, it looks like the same thing for F2A as well. As you can see, there is no difference between March and April. No movement at all. No movement for F2B either. I'm sorry, I'm not highlighting. Let me highlight it so that you can see what I'm looking at. And no movement for F2B either, unfortunately. For F3, let's see. Doesn't seem like there's any movement for F3 either, but let's see. March 10, June, no movement. But there is something for the F4. So let's highlight F4. And let's highlight F4 in April 2024. And let's see, so March, no movement for all chargeability, no movement for China. India, looks like there is movement for India. Okay, so we got from March, so in March 2024 visa bulletin, India for graph B, dates for filing, was on 22nd February 2006. For April 2024, it moved to April 2006. Okay, so it moved February, March, April. Okay, so about, well, it was 22nd February, so like a little bit over a month, looks like. So good news for India. It's good, you know. If you're in other, you know, if you're in all chargeability or the other family preference, all other chargeability areas, it's still a good news. If you see one of the chargeability areas moving forward, it means that we can potentially expect some movement in the next visa bulletin edition. So don't be discouraged. You know, this is unfortunately part of the deal whenever it comes to family reunification, unfortunately, because there is a limitation. You know, I've done a lot of answering questions on this channel, and most of the questions that I receive on this channel is why is the visa bulletin this way, why is it not moving, or why is it moving so slow, or why is it moving backwards. And really there is only one answer to that, and it's because the availability of the immigrant visas that are issued specifically for family reunification cases is limited. And you can see the numbers that are in each visa bulletin, and it's always been to 226,000. That is the number of the total number of immigrant visas that are being issued, and it is limited. So if there is more applications, which there always is, the additional applications that accumulate on top of that number, they roll over to the next year. And obviously you can imagine that, you know, every year we get more and more and more applications, and all these applications, they keep getting rolled over and accumulate, and that's where the backlog comes from. So unfortunately, part of the, you know, dealing with family reunification cases is really just sitting and waiting. But with that being said, it still is very, very important to stay on top of the visa bulletin and make sure you know how approximately, again, these are rough estimates, but rough estimates because right now we're looking, let's say, you know, F2A, you know, June 2020, you know, well, April, there was already movement to September 2023, right? In the graph, let's see, A, there you go, September 2020, right? For all chargeability for China. Next month, with May visa bulletin edition, we might see another 2, 3, 4 months movement ahead. So don't be discouraged, just stay on top, just get familiarized with the visa bulletin. If these videos help you how to read the visa bulletin, you know, that's really what I'm trying to accomplish, because, you know, I'm an immigrant myself, and I had several cases, and I have a case, an I-130 case that I'm waiting for my brother. So I'm constantly looking at the F4, which takes forever, just like a lot of other categories, you know, unfortunately. But if you are familiar with these numbers, if you know approximately, you can plan ahead, you know, for your documentary qualification, for your immigration interview. So it always helps. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments below, and I will try to address them in one of the next videos. Appreciate your time. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.